I graduated in 1992 with an MA in Classical Arabic from the University of St Andrews, and was somewhat at a loss for things to do. So I went travelling in the Middle East, developed a deep affection for the place, and then it struck me that law would be a good career to pursue and also to combine my interests. So off and on, I've worked in the Middle East in a commercial and legal capacity since 1995. And I'm there now with a boutique new law firm called Support Legal, which is a very diverse and new model law firm going into what we believe is a new era of the legal services profession. I think in reflection of the fact that we are living in very uncertain times, what with the geopolitical landscape and also the effects of COVID-19, we don't really know where we're going to be going. And so flexibility is a key issue. And to me, there is no greater legal concept than mediation in terms of flexibility. I think people have thought of mediation in a very dispute resolution type way. I think it's much broader than that. I think also in terms of flexibility, concepts that we've held dear, like arbitration and litigation, are going to have to expand. They are very expensive. There will not be the money in the system for clients to engage in arbitration and litigation. So alternative dispute resolution, whether that is mediation or some other term that we come up with, is going to be far more popular in the future because, as I say, it empowers the parties to come to an agreement between themselves. It gives them the ability to maintain the relationship beyond the actual issue that they find difficulty with, and I think that's something that is taken away from them in arbitration and litigation, and it enables them to come to a relatively quick and cheap means of resolving a difficulty. I think the fact that people are getting out there and starting talking about mediation in a more general sense and trying to access a wider audience is a brilliant initiative. And obviously we're extremely keen to be part of that. I personally wish that this sort of event had been held 15, 20 years ago, because we've spent too much time and too much money, certainly in the industries that I've worked in, oil and gas, energy, renewables, hospitality and leisure, fighting with one another over contracts and not actually sitting down and say, well, how can we sit down and make sure that this is a win-win? And mediation, more than any other concept that we have, is a way of getting the parties to that win-win situation. It's about everybody that's interested in the Middle East and doing business there. To a certain extent, it's introducing people to a part of the world that not many of them will be familiar with, or will have certain preconceptions about, and those preconceptions may be wrong, but looking back historically, the Middle East and mediation in the Middle East, although not quite in the same way that we understand it, has been part of the culture since the times of the Prophet, peace be upon him. And the concepts that we have now taken forward into mediation have been part of the Islamic culture and Islamic history, to the extent that mediation was used by the Prophet to resolve disputes between his followers, and even at one stage he was asked to come up with a solution to a very nasty dispute over the construction of the Kaaba, the holy place in Mecca. that he resolved, and he resolved that by applying the then principles of Islamic mediation that's applied. Why they should come along, I think people will be surprised at how advanced mediation is, at least in a thought process way, and also I hope they will look beyond what is there at the moment and play it forward and see what we're going to be able to achieve in the future. I think it's going to be a growing area. I think that arbitration and litigation are going to slowly but surely fall away because people simply will not be able to afford the costs of it. There's also the issues. There are two main issues I see with arbitration and litigation, and that is you can win the case or you can win the arbitral award, but you've still got to overcome the issue of getting it executed. And if you've got a counterparty that spent X millions actually arbitrating or litigating something, and they're in financial difficulty anyway, which is generally what pulls them to the table, then what are your chances of actually getting anything out of it? And then furthermore, what are your chances of being able to have a meaningful relationship commercially with that party going forward? Mediation takes a lot of that off the table, and I just think with a bit of imagination and a very positive will, a lot can be done with it.